Back. I had to make sure I wasn't dreaming when he said what he said. So, but I'm
here, of course, joined with Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick. I think I'm muted. There we go. What's going on, everybody? My video didn't hide this time. Must be an update. So what's up, guys? My name's Tanner of the Sports Buffoons and Whiskey Sports Podcast. This is Buffoon and Bodkins. There is no Nick today. He is still recovering from his loss of what was inside of me. So hopefully he gets some rest and chills out for a little minute. It's going to be good for him. It's fine. So, but man, what a week 6 so far. We'll post up the GameCast here shortly. We will have the GameCast here. But we'll, of course, bring in Jim Biringer coming into play. We'll get Jonathan on as well, talk a little baseball, see how he's doing with his Braves out. I'm sure he's upset. So, but yeah, it's going to be an exciting time here. Week 6 comes to a conclude. Can there be any more upsets? Guys, the New York Giants are 5-1. They just beat the Ravens. So now I have to, shut up here and put them in my top, at least my top 20, top 15, maybe. We'll see what I do here. So, but all that dropping out on the Whiskey Sports Podcast later on, guys. So, I haven't got a chance to watch much of the game, doing the dad thing, but, I'm excited to see exactly what's going on. I'm shocked to see Denver up, but at the same time, I'm kind of not with that Chargers defense. So let's bring in Jim Biringer, guys. Jim, what's going on?
Yo, what up, my man? How you doing, Tanner?
Hey, thanks for joining me, dude.
Yo, no problem, man. Always a pleasure here on Monday night. We got the game going on. A lot of games going on tonight. We got football. What a night in the National tonight, in the National Hockey League. Fun night. A lot of close games. That's the way to grow a sport right there.
Man, I got bets on the Canadians winning.
They just did, by the way, overtime.
Did they?
Yeah.
Score. See, here's the deal. If the Broncos win and cover, I get double there on top of the Canadians. And then is it the Canucks or
the Canucks?
Canucks. I got them winning too.
I hate to say that one didn't come through.
That one, hey, there's always one.
There's always one. They should have won. They were up 4-2. They blew it late. So.
That's the worst. It's like watching the Seattle Kraken last Wednesday that I had going into play. That's just so disappointing. But
yeah.
So I was going to ask you, because of that game I watched Wednesday night after I got done with the Buffoon show, is 50 shots a game realistic? Because I'm not seeing that anywhere else.
No, I mean, I think that, Anaheim's defense is suspect this year. It's not the greatest, even with John Klingberg there. I mean, John Gibson, their goaltender, is going to be able to, stop a lot. But, I mean, defensively, the Ducks are just a young team. And it's just, 50 shots is a lot. I mean, we could see it go, depends on the night. You could see it. I mean, the Rangers put up 43 shots on Anaheim tonight. So, I mean, they were only 7 shots away from 50. So, I mean, we could potentially see the Ducks put up, give up a lot of shots. For Seattle, that is a lot of shots for them, though. I'd see them more in like the 30, 40 range, to be honest. I mean, they don't scream offense. But, that night, the way they're playing Anaheim's D isn't the greatest. So, that wasn't too surprising, but it is high for sure.
Oh, man, that's insane. So, yeah, we're looking here. I'm looking through divisions just after kind of a almost full week here. But, yeah, the Bruins at 3-0, Red Wings at 2-0. Let's see here. Who else we got undefeated? Penguins and Flyers and the Hurricanes. Any surprises on the Eastern Conference side?
I'd say, I don't know if you call them a surprise, but I think people wanted to see what Boston was going to do this year with the injuries, and the way they're playing right now is really good. Getting the checks back together with David Krejci and David Pasternak. Pasternak needs a new contract, and he's playing like he wants to get paid next year. So that's always good, and especially throwing a guy like Pavel Zacha come over from New Jersey. in a trade for Eric Holla. The check line together, there's always instant chemistry. So to me, I think if the Bruins survive like this early stretch and potentially get Marchand back early than expected from his injury, the Bruins can definitely make some noise in the Atlantic Division. Not so much shocking with Detroit for me. I think Detroit's one of those teams for me that could take the next step this year. I think they're bound to. The goaltending is better. Ville Husso, Nedeljkovic. I think they could clean up some things defensively, but everybody expects Detroit to take the next step this year under Steve Yzerman and what he's built and the coaching staff, and everybody getting a little better with the players they brought in. So I'm not too surprised by Detroit.
Gotcha. And I'm looking here in the Metropolitan here. The Capitals have 13 goals for and 13 against. Is it really that bad a defense coming into play in the Capitals right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the defensively, to me, the Capitals are not one of those teams that are that strong this year. I think they're an older club defensively. They're definitely not what Colorado was last year. And if you think Darcy Kemper was the answer, some of the goals he gave up tonight cannot be hidden by this Washington defense. Colorado was able to cover up those mistakes. And to me, I've just not been sold on Darcy Kemper. I don't think he was worth the contract. And I think Washington made a mistake, considering the goals for and goals against differential this year. I think that's going to come back to haunt them. And they definitely missed Tom Wilson in the lineup. Nick Backstrom's not there. So, yeah, this Washington team, I think that's a team that potentially could miss the playoffs this year.
Gotcha. What's up with your Devils, though? I mean, we're over 2, -6 differential. What's going on, man?
Oh, man. Don't get me started on New Jersey. But, the thing is with New Jersey is the problem is I think not so much. I think it is the coach. I think Lindy Ruff, for what it's worth, 2 seasons now. I mean, I know you need time to develop and everything with the system, but something's just not clicking and it hasn't clicked. And if you listen to his press conferences and the way his demeanor comes off is so much like the last 2 years, talk about same mistakes, same, mishaps going into the net. The gaps are just not closing out. And I was listening today to Mike McKenna on Daily Faceoff, and Dallas under his reign was one of the worst teams defensively. It didn't change with the Rangers. I don't understand why the Devils came out here and hired him. Now, you talk to some players say they're close to turning it around. Others say not so much. They put it on the players themselves. They take responsibility. It shouldn't be on the coach, but we know this business. And he owned everything after the game on Saturday. He took full responsibility for what happened. He takes responsibility for the losses. He understands fans are passionate. They have the right to boo. It's part of the business. It's the job he signed up for. But something's got to change quickly because it's a tense situation there. And as I talked to you guys, I believe last week or the week before on the show, Lindy Ruff was a guy that I was looking at as on the hot seat early. There are expectations on this team to be better and take the next step. Now, I'm not saying playoffs, but they have to improve to what they did last year. And Andrew Brunette is there. So it's already a tense situation with a guy who took over for a coach last year who's there. A tense situation can get worse if the wins don't start to come for this Devils club.
Oh, man, it's going to be something to watch for there. So I know you were tweeting about it too.
Oh, I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, the problem is you just listen to him and you watch the demeanor, and you can take a quote from last year and put it through the first 2 games, and it's just the same thing. And is it the personnel? Is he the right fit? Did Tom Fitzgerald, the general manager, make the right decision? If everybody was getting evaluated and better coaches were out there, you saw the Bruins make a change a week after the season. You saw the Islanders make changes. You saw Vegas make a change later on. So it's not that you couldn't make the change. It's going to be, if you make it quick, everybody's going to question why you didn't do it in the offseason. And to me, I think they should have. And I think, you want your players to develop in this system, but clearly something isn't working, especially when you're running practice today and you're stopping it and starting it because you don't want mistakes to happen and you go over everything. That's what the offseason was for. That was training camp for. You can't mistakes are going to happen. They always do in any sport. But the fact is they're letting it continue to happen. And as much as they say the mentality has changed there, it hasn't, because one goal just continues to spiral this team out of control, and they can't seem to have the answer.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a similar team you favor from the last couple of years. But look, it's got stuff changing with the Giants. So
Yeah,
no
exactly. I mean,
touchdown. That's what it feels like.
yeah, it's exactly the same thing. And I was talking with somebody about this. I said, why don't the Devils, if they had, a coach that they can have the energy, the Giants have taken on that energy of Brian Dable. There's no more excuses. It's, we're going to go win, and we're going to do it any way necessary. Keep games close, have that energy. As much as the Devils players talk about, oh, how good Lindy Ruff is, what he's done for them in development, this and that, this team is not playing for him anymore, and you can see it. And it's just the demeanor, and they're just not, the energy, the bad energy is just coming onto the ice, and I think they need to have a change of energy, to be honest. And I think it may start in the room. It may start with guys stepping up and saying, hey, we got to play better, or it's going to have to be a coaching change. And most likely you can't fire everybody on a team and change all the players, because you're still going to have the same results, because the defensive gaps are just not being closed.
Does the GM get hit at all, or do you think he's safe for a little bit?
I don't think he's safe either. I think that he has to take some responsibility for what he put on the ice as well, and the fact that he continued to stay with Lindy Ruff. You can get one or two coaching changes. You don't get a third one, because that means it's time for you to go as well. So, there's a lot of evaluation to be done. Again, it's 2 games, it's early, but you can't let it snowball, because the Devil season's been over early the last couple of seasons, and they talk about playing meaningful games in March and April. Well, if this snowballs, the Devil season could be over by American Thanksgiving.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Such a short time. So
right.
Let's swing over to the Western Conference here. So right now it's looking like in the Central, the Stars are 2-0. Everybody else, Blues and Jets are 1-0. Only played 1 game. And then the Pacific Division, the Golden Knights and the Flames are both one's 3-0. Flames are 2-0. I guess let's start in the Central Division there. Stars, any surprise on the Stars here starting out hot?
I think, they played a Preds team, home and home series. Preds coming over from Prague, starting to get readjusted again.
I lost that one too.
Yeah, so I think, to be honest, I think Dallas has a lot to prove this year. New coach Pete DeBoer come over, they pick him up, Vegas. Tyler Seguin looks better. I think the addition of Marshman is really helping the Stars club, takes the pressure off of that top line of Robertson and Rope Hintz and Joe Pavelski. I think if they can have 2 lines of scoring, that's going to be really helpful. And when you have Jake Ottinger, the 3rd star this week from the NHL, putting up a .968 save percentage, things are good for you in Dallas. Connor, again, 1 game for Winnipeg. I mean, they beat the Rangers on a back-to-back. So this is a test tonight. I think, Dallas is a sleeper team in the Central, because everybody expects Colorado and St. Louis and Minnesota to be there. So, potentially, if Dallas continues to play well, it depends what happens at Pacific. You could see Central with 5 teams again this year.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to say, so I have a lot of Minnesota people here. Like, should they be worried about the ball starting 0-2 with a -5 differential?
I think
didn't
so.
They get one goalie that's been around for like 14 years or something like that?
Yeah, so they decided to move on from Cam Talbot and keep Marc-Andre Fleury. And, Flower needs to be better. Fleury needs to be better. His coach knows it. That's why they started Philip Gustafson tonight against Colorado. Just a little bit of a message. Matt Zuccarello said it best. They play defense like a junior team. I'll keep the explicit out, but, he was making a point. I mean, they have to play better defensively, but they also needed a save. And Marc-Andre Fleury was paid to make a save, and he hasn't done it. Now, granted, he's getting older, but still, they traded for him at the deadline. They chose him over Talbot last year in the playoffs and going into the playoffs when Talbot was playing well for this team. So you have to wonder, what's going to happen if Gustafson starts to put wins together for this team. I don't think they should be worried, but they got to start playing better defensively. And it sounds like it's a broken record for every team, but you can't have teams don't want to play 5-4 games all the time. You want to lock it down early and play better defensively.
Right, with 14 goals allowed already in the early on here with through 2 games, it's not a good sign, not a good look here.
No, exactly. Wild. Especially when you're playing a good team like Colorado here on a Monday night. You've already given up 3 goals, but you scored 2, so I mean it's pretty much the same goal differential here. I mean you can't let divisional games get away because it's it's 2 points. It's a 4-point swing in the standings, and we talked about Dallas, and right now as we speak they're up 3-1 on Winnipeg. So I mean the roll continues for the Stars. I mean, look, I've never been sold on Pete DeBoer. He's always done something nice in the first year and usually things tailspin. So we'll see what happens there down in Big D.
Gotcha, man. I can't believe Dallas is still up there. All right. Las Vegas Golden Knights 3-0, 10 goals for, 5 goals allowed with a 5 differential. Is this team for real?
You know what? I'm starting to think they're for real. I mean, again, still early, 3 games, but, Vegas is definitely playing a lot better than people expected them to this year, especially with the goaltending. A lot of people have questions about Logan Thompson, and rightfully so. I mean, he did perform well at the end of last season. If Vegas gets a couple of wins against some bad teams, maybe they get into playoffs. You never know. But Thompson had a good World Championships for Team Canada. He's carried it over. I think Bruce Cassidy, very underrated coach in the National Hockey League, and I like what he's doing there in Vegas. Cleaned up the power play. Granted, you have a healthy lineup. Alec Martinez is in there. Healthy Mark Stone, healthy Jack Eichel. Makes things help. But some of the original Golden Knights are starting to play better, like Jonathan Marchessault, William Carrier, guys like that were there when they were the Golden Misfits, when there was no expectations in the first year, when they went to a Stanley Cup final. I think this team plays better when there's no expectations on them and they just start ripping off wins and they just play better that way. I mean, granted, they did go to a Western Conference final during that crazy COVID year with 4 divisions and lose to Montreal. And they've had some other playoff losses where they probably shouldn't have lost. But I think when the expectations are lower in Vegas, they seem to play better.
Gotcha. And I can't remember. It was I'll just look it up real quick here. What's on Blackhawks? Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, it was the Blackhawks. I was watching the Blackhawks game where they won 1-0. And yeah, it was, I don't know. It just felt like they were really solid on the defense side. They didn't really allow too many shots and essentially kept it. I mean, I didn't see the Chicago at all really make an attempt too much to get in the goal.
No, they didn't. No, not too much. I mean, look, Vegas, it's the kind of games they're going to have to play 1-0, 1 goal games. I mean, it's not going to be pretty for them this year. I mean, you expected games to be close. I believe that the game, I think when they played Saturday night, when I was looking, they won 5-2. Okay. They won by 3 goals against Seattle. But other than that, they've won close games the other nights. So, I mean, it's definitely, they're going to have some offensive outbursts, but most of the time it's going to be 1-2 goal games for Vegas. And I think that's how they're going to win. And Bruce Cassidy has always been about defense first, even with Boston, but it's a different style out in the West, but good on Vegas for getting off to a good start, because I think that's a team that definitely needed it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens here within this next week too, coming into play. So I need you a little learning time with Jim here.
Yeah.
Coming into play. I need help. What is the points part of this whole standings? Like, what?
All right. So you have wins, obviously, losses, and then OT losses. So that's either a shootout or a regular overtime loss. So you get. This is where it gets confusing, because I've always wished they changed it to the international scoring, because I like it better. But you get 2 points for a win, and then if the game goes to regulation, both teams get a point. And then if you lose, you still get the quote unquote loser point. So it's basically creating false parity, so the standings are closer than they really are. Well, I mean, think about it. You used to get 1 point for a tie. So there's no ties anymore when they brought the shootout in. So I personally wish they still had them because game like if there's I remember watching games where it's like 1-1, 2-2, and it's like, why is either team got to lose here? So they just like 5 minutes, all right, tie. But in international hockey, 3 wins is you have 3 wins for a regulation win, 3 points for that. Then you have 2 points for an overtime or shootout win, but you still get the loser point because for round robin purposes, they have to, teams got to pick up a point. But I like that 3-2-1 system. It puts more value on a win, especially in regulation. But you don't see teams going after it hard towards the end, unless they're down. But if it's a close game, they're not going to try to tie it up or try to go for that W. They try to go for it in overtime. But yeah, that's pretty much how it breaks down. The 2-1 system where they try to keep everything close. Though last year really didn't work out too well, especially in the East when Washington and like every 8 teams had over 100 points each. So it was like I think like it was like a 20-point differential between the 8th and 9th place team. So it really didn't matter.
Gotcha. I always thought it was something to do with like the goals part and then like the win or loss. Go at like combination, but apparently it's nothing to do with goals.
No, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, the goal differential is there in case of ties. I mean, last year you saw like with Vegas and Dallas, like Dallas would pick up points in like overtime to increase their lead by a little bit to get the magic number. But yeah, you prefer to win in regulation to make sure that other team doesn't get any points, especially late, especially if you're playing a division game, because it's just like 3 points. It's like, oh, okay, they just picked up a point on you. But it's the system that we live in. It's not going to change because they want to have parity in the league. So
gotcha. Okay, well that helps me out. That makes a little bit more sense than coming to play for rankings, because I had so confused on all that when I was looking at it last year at the end. So all right, cool. I'm gonna switch away from hockey here since Nick's not here. Before we talk Giants, let's talk a little bit of NCAA football.
Absolutely.
I know you cover that too. So
I love it. This weekend was awesome.
How great was that Tennessee win?
That was very cool. I mean, good for Tennessee. Great win for Tennessee. First big win since 2006 over Alabama. I mean, now ranked as high as 3 since I believe early 2000s. This Tennessee team is for real. And granted, Alabama still controls their own path to the SEC title game. But you got to circle November 12th if Tennessee remains undefeated. Same with Georgia. I mean, that's going to determine who goes to the SEC title game and potentially faces Alabama.
Yeah, and that's in Georgia, if I'm correct.
So
I mean, how much do you think? Do you think Tennessee, after seeing the Alabama game, has enough, I guess, firepower to be able to overtake this Georgia team?
I mean, personally, I think Tennessee has the best offense in the SEC right now with Hooker and Hyatt. I mean, Hyatt record 5 touchdowns. I mean, they've moved the ball on a good Alabama defense. Now, granted, Alabama's defense is not what it was and what we've seen it to be, but I think they can move the ball up and down Georgia. Now, there's still ways to get there. I mean, but still, I mean, Tennessee's been very impressive. They've passed every big test they needed to pass so far this season. They beat Florida in the swamp. A lot of people have question marks about that. And now they beat a good Alabama team at home. Now, Bryce Young did play, again, penalties are part of penalties are a part of the game. Things happen. There were some questionable calls that went both ways. But the fact of the matter is that Hooker was able to move the ball down on this defense, especially late after Ricker missed the field goal to potentially give Alabama the win. That's just a statement to what the poison pressure this kid is under there in Tennessee, and good for this program because the Vols, they definitely need it. I mean, you want to have relevancy in the SEC, and you want to have some different teams potentially give you a look.
Yeah, definitely. And this Tennessee team, they could have just quit after that fumble, or was it a fumble return?
Yeah, it was a fumble return, 49-42.
They could have just quit right there, like most teams do versus Alabama. Instead, they came out and they came back and they ended up tying the game to go to be able to have a chance to kick that game-winning field goal.
Exactly. I mean, and good on the Tennessee defense for now allowing Alabama to get more yardage, to get the field goal even closer.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, Tennessee's for real. This defense is good. This offense is really good, and you got to start talking about Hooker for Heisman, potentially Hyatt as well. I mean, I mean, they are playing really, really well right now. And look out, Vols Nation is ready to explode. If they want Alabama because it's the gold standard. I think if this team remains undefeated, they're going to be asking for the national champion Georgia Bulldogs, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if they pull the upset there too, because I have not been impressed with the way Georgia looks.
Yeah, Georgia's been on the kind of rough side of things here. How about another big win here in a team that's got some momentum? Maybe they are kind of for real. I mean, granted, they haven't really faced an Ohio State team, but Michigan with the big win against Penn State, pounding it on the ground in the second half to really pull ahead there. I mean, is this team really for real? Because I keep betting it. I didn't bet for them this time, but usually I'm betting against them because of their cakewalk pre-conference schedule. Like, what's your thought here on this?
I mean, Michigan's passed two of the bigger tests in the Big Ten right now. Iowa going to Iowa. I mean, granted, Iowa's offense isn't the greatest. I mean, they sent football back. But it's always a tough place to play when you go to Iowa, because Iowa's defense is always good, and they whooped them pretty good. And Penn State, the way Penn State had been running the ball, undefeated, sneaky good team in the Big Ten East. And they just come in and shut them down as well. And I think Harbaugh's got these guys playing well. J.J. McCarthy, different element, the running back, really good as well. And, you got to wonder, again, you don't want to look too far ahead because they still got to play Michigan State. Ohio State still got Penn State. But, again, it's another game that's going to determine who goes to the Big Ten and potentially a national title game between Ohio State and Michigan. And Michigan's got momentum. I mean, they beat Ohio State last year. There's no reason why they can't do it again this year. And I like the way they've been playing. But again, it's Ohio State. Again, they're the standard right now. They're number one in the country for a reason. CJ Stroud in that offense looks really, really good.
I was like, outside of week one, these guys Ohio State looks like they're the team essentially to come out.
They've turned it around. I mean, they've really, really turned it around. And yeah, exactly. Week one, slow start, okay. But now CJ Stroud's going to all the receivers. Mario Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. looks great for that team. I mean, that kid's going to be a stud when he goes to the NFL. Like, whoever picks him up, they're going to be loving him. Loving life for that team, So, look, Michigan, they just have to continue running the football. Edwards looking good. I mean, him and Corum put huge numbers down on the ground. Continue to do that. Play good defense. J.J. McCarthy making smart throws. Everybody was questioning Harbaugh on the decision to go away from the quarterback from last year to McCarthy. They did, and it's worked out, and it's given him more of a dynamic offense.
Yeah, and I think just alone, the running game alone, just as long as they can keep breaking that open in games, I think they'll be just fine for most part.
I think this is the difference between Ohio State and Michigan. Both teams can run the football, but I think Michigan can run the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. All right, and then finally here for college ball, I mean, there's so much happening.
Oh man, there's so many crazy games this weekend.
TCU beat Oklahoma State, ended up in overtime there, but that's huge for TCU. I really picked Oklahoma State to win that because I felt like they were better, but what do I know, apparently. But what about the Pac-12, right? So UCLA still sitting at 6-0. Oregon's right there at the 10th spot right behind them. Utah beating USC.
That's a big win for Utah. Get back on the board. I mean, after the loss to UCLA the prior week where they weren't even in the game. I mean, it was close score, but it was close and is an indicative of that game. UCLA, UCLA's for real, but they got a big test going up to Eugene this weekend. They got to play Oregon in Oregon. That's going to be a tough game. Let's see if this UCLA team can do it on the road against, Bo Nix and that Oregon offense. Oregon's been clicking, especially at home. if this game was in UCLA at the Coliseum, I think I would take UCLA at home, but I like Oregon at home this week. But Utah getting a big divisional win because, like the Big 12, the Pac-12 is just the top 2 records that go to the title game. There's no divisions anymore. So that's a huge win, especially a from behind victory against USC. USC was playing really good, but their defense all year has been suspect. And that was a similar trait to Oklahoma when Lincoln Riley was there too. Great offense, but they could not close it out defensively. And it finally bit UCLA in the butt. And Cam Rising, what can you say with Utah? Team's still alive in the Pac-12. And, they potentially, outside of the, if they don't get the interception in Florida, I mean, they have one loss on the year. So, I mean, right now they only have one conference loss. So if they can run the table, Utah's still alive for a Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, it's insane to me right now. Just what's going on with that conference.
I mean, even the Big 12.
Hey, look at this here. JD Keen says this game is more better than WWE.
Yeah, it's better than Raw. I mean, the running joke is, with my friends, Raw, you type Raw and it sucks. So, I mean, I guess it does suck. So, this game is better. I mean, this show is better than Raw right now. So, I mean, we're going everywhere. Going everywhere tonight.
All right, man. Let's talk about the Giants here before you get out of here. How do you feel, man? 5-1, beating the Ravens.
I mean, dude, what a game! What a fun performance yesterday by the Giants. Look, yes, we continue to talk about it. Saquon Barkley's the offense. Daniel Jones making, look, holding penalty, pass interference at the end could have been a different story because, they were driving and, he throws the interception in the end zone, bad interception, but it comes back. Saquon punches it in, but they are never out of any game. Defensively, they can rush the passer, look good, strong, just in your face, smash mouth football. And Jones makes the throws when he has to. Still not sold on him, but you know what? He's playing better. And you know what? The best part about it is when they make mistakes, the coach is in their face and looking like this is not acceptable. You have to play better. I expect you to play better. And they're just feeding off the energy of the coach, which is what you want from a team. And you know what? It's contagious. And who said, look, we said, okay, what do you think? Maybe 4 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins here. Right now, I mean, the best division in the NFL right now is the NFC East. So, one team 6-0, 2 teams at 5-1. I mean, and I don't think anybody expected the Giants to be where they are right now. And you just got to keep rolling the dice.
Cowboys are what, 4-2 now?
4-2.
Yeah, because they lost to the Eagles.
Okay, so
4-2. But still, that's all winning records, and that was with the backup quarterback still.
Yeah,
his
exactly.
First loss.
So, I mean, you can't expect – I mean, look, they definitely need to figure out the receiving with the Giants. Got to get some more
Wandale looks good. Wandale looks like he could be the guy that's once he stays healthy.
Exactly. But, again, maybe we get, Robinson looks good too. I mean, let's see Slayton in the slot. You get obviously always Barkley's going to be involved, and he's looking good buying in to the system. Just got to manage games, keep them close, and anything can happen in the fourth quarter.
Right. That's very, it's very true. I'm sitting here with my Giants pick on, I do the power rankings on Tuesdays, Tuesday nights. And I said last week, I had them at like 22. And I said last week, I go, the Giants beat the Ravens. I'll put some respect on it. And that means this week, I got to put some respect on this Giants team. Because that was a game I had circled. I'm like, all right, here's your tough test, right? You beat some other teams. You lost to the Cowboys, and then you came out and won again, beat the Packers. Now you beat Baltimore. Like, Baltimore, we all consider a really highly playoff team coming into play, too.
Right.
If that defense can figure out life in that offense. So, but, I mean, Giants have to have some respect now. Like, they've shown up. They've beaten teams that nobody picked them to beat.
Right, and now the pressure's on because you have 2 winnable games now.
Yes,
3 winnable games. Even if you go through the schedule up to the next Cowboys game, They have 4 winnable games that everybody expects them they should win. This is when the real test is going to come, because this is where you have to now live up to those expectations and have to beat some of these bad teams.
Exactly. That's what you do. You beat the bad teams, and you compete on the good teams like you're doing the last couple here.
Right.
So it's going to be such a test here, see what the offense does here. JD says Buffalo Bills did really good yesterday. Yeah, they did. You know, that whole game was great to watch.
Give me those games every week. I mean, can we just
yeah.
have Kansas City and Buffalo play all the time? Like
Thursday night football from now on.
Yeah, I mean, please, like, let's make some other, like, come on, man. Thursday night just sucks.
Oh man, yeah. Now we got possibly on Thursday night the Saints Bengals. Is the Saints Bengals? Yeah.
No, I thought they just played. No, Saints played Bengals on Sunday.
They just played. Sorry, Saints. I can't remember who the other team is, but the Saints are going to be possibly without Winston and Andy Dalton, which means it's Taysom Hill starting at quarterback.
All right.
So,
Saints and Cardinals Thursday night?
Saints Cardinals, that's what it is. JD, why did the Redskins change their name?
Politics.
Well, politics. That's a great answer there, because that's all it is right now. That's what they're trying to do the Chiefs too. So
politics. That's it.
It's all politics.
It's all politics.
As long as the players play, the city keeps their team. Who really cares in my end?
Exactly. Same here. That's how I feel too.
Gotta be a fan. So, all right, Jim, you got anything else coming on? Any content to promote?
Check out Let's Talk Sports. Dan and I did the Let's Talk Pucks podcast today, or the show today before, so check it out. It's up on the page right now. I dropped NHL Insights today on full press coverage, full press hockey. Just looking at some teams. Vegas we went over, but the final word on hockey is out with these insights as well. So you can check the link out in the article. I posted it it's in the Let's Talk Sports group page. And tomorrow morning, full press coverage. I will be on. The hockey expert will be on talking about tonight's game. So check us out. I'm everywhere. And it's just a fun time to be a sports fan. And, hockey, it's a great time to be an NHL fan. Check the games out. And, best reality TV show right now is sports. So that's all I got to say.
It's no lie. There's tons of it happening.
There's no lie.
We got what? We got NBA starting here 2 days, Wednesday, right? So, I mean, there's plenty of it to go around. If you don't want football, there's others happening.
Exactly. So there's always something on.
And where can we find you on Twitter, by the way? Because I know you do your after shows.
Yeah, you can find me at Jim Biringer. It's my name, so it's all together. And if you guys want, I'll just send you. You guys can post it up wherever your show is. Just check me out on Twitter. That's where the Nightcap Recap is. Also, Instagram, night_cap_recap, where I posted as well. So check that out as well. Always follow along on Instagram as well. Jersey Jim 33. So there's a lot of content out there.
Awesome. All right, Jim. Well, I appreciate you coming on, joining, talking sports once again with us. A variety of it. Can't wait to catch you on your other recaps and shows going on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tanner, for having me. Always a pleasure to join you guys here on a Monday night.
Yep. Thanks, Jim. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
All right, guys. That was Jim Biringer here. Make sure you guys do go follow him. Like I said, he's phenomenal. He does a whole bunch of different stuff going into play for Let's Talk Sports and his own stuff. Just a great guy to talk to and very, very, very knowledgeable here. So, but guys, looking here, looks like we got a 13-13 game going to play. Broncos are marching down the field. Look, this is kind of what I was thinking, not really score-wise, but I figured it'd be close coming into play. Just this Denver defense is, that's the lifeblood of the team, essentially. And that Chargers defense kind of blows. So I'm really shocked that Herbert hasn't thrown a touchdown, though. I don't know if you guys are in DraftKings, but I threw some money on that touchdown, and I'm not seeing the return yet. So we still got time there as we go about this here. But, guys, let's talk a little Week 6 recap here as we're waiting for Jonathan to come in to play here. as I bring my scores up. Hang on here. My mouse is being funky. I think it's about to die on me, which will be good. So, guys, if you haven't checked out Nick's show on the Bodkins show, he does his turds and his turds and dogs of the week on every Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Central. It's really fun. I got to hop on it a couple weeks ago, and it's a blast to be able to go through each game, talk about it, and then give a fantasy prediction, talk about your turd and your dog for the week as Sunday Night Football's finishing up. So if you guys haven't checked that out at the Bodkins show, a fabulous way. So let's take a look here on a quick recap here. Commanders 12-7. In case you guys have not heard, Carson Wentz is having surgery. I believe he had it today. He will be out for 2 to 3 weeks as of right now. So that's something to keep an eye on there. JD says yesterday the Bucs almost won over the Steelers. How disappointing is that, JD? The Bucs almost winning. This is a team that should be a playoff Super Bowl potential team, and you're losing to Pittsburgh. You're losing to Pickett. You're losing to Trubisky. You're losing to this Pittsburgh team that's decimated on defense, and they aren't good with that TJ Watt. But you can't get your offense moving, and your defense is the only thing keep kind of holding you back. Similar to this Broncos team right now, like. You got to have, I don't know what's going on. I know Brady's really upset. You saw him, yelling at his line because he is getting hurried like no other. But you have like 6 starting weapons on your on your offense, and there's no reason why this offense isn't capable of moving down the field. They ended up, what was that score? That was a 20-18 ball game. 20-18 ball game. Devin Bush batting away, of course, that tying 2-point. So it's bad. Okay, there's something wrong with this Bucs team. I don't think the Chiefs broke them, but I just think they're bad right now. I don't get it. There, my mouse. Tom Brady needs to retire. Look, I'd be surprised if he sticks around for one more year. Okay, Tom looks like he's about ready to go right now because it's not looking pretty. So I wouldn't be surprised if he retires. Appreciate you commenting in, JD. All right, guys, look here. Looks like what do we got? Chargers ball again. Man, what a back and forth game. Let's see what else we got. So yeah, Carson Wentz, guys, is going to be out. So make sure you guys notate that. We had Bills Chiefs. How about Jordan Poyer, guys? Drove 15 hours to KC because his ribs aren't cleared to take the pressure of air travel, play the game, and had to drive 15 hours back. You got to respect that guy. You got to respect a guy like that to be able to do that. So, this was a game that just as I expected, kind of back and forth deal. Not quite as many points scored, but it was, there was 0 points scored in the first. I don't know if you had a good bet on that. I'm sure that was some good money. But this Bills team's good. This Chiefs team's good. Sure, Patrick Mahomes threw that, interception at the very end with a minute 5 left or something like that. Doesn't matter. These teams are probably your top 2 teams possibly in the league right now. And you saw exactly what you saw last year in the playoffs. So can't wait to, as a Chiefs fan, I can't wait to meet the Bills once again because honestly, as a football fan, these are the best games to watch going into play. I mean, yes, it wasn't a 50-50 ball game, but it was still a back and forth. I'm going to score, you go score. I'm going to score, you go score kind of ball game. We have the 49ers Falcons coming into play. Jeff Wilson, very disappointing. That defense for the 49ers, disappointing. The offense, once again, couldn't move the ball. For whatever reason, it's like, all right, let's blow up one week. Let's not do anything the next week. And then we're going to do really well. Now the 49ers have the Chiefs next week. So now they're on this pattern of they beat the Rams. They lose to the Falcons. They're going to, not saying they're going to beat the Chiefs, but now they got to go play the Chiefs. And I think it's in it's in San Francisco, I'm pretty sure. So like that's going to be a matchup by itself there. And if we can just put pressure on Garoppolo, I feel like we got a pretty good chance there. It's Falcons getting away with a win here, and that keeps them in line for that division because the Saints aren't playing well. The Panthers, we all know, suck, and the Tampa Bay Bucks are crapping their pants. So it's not a good thing here for these guys here. So we got that going to play. Patriots, Bill Belichick doing Bill Belichick things, beating the Browns 38-15. Bailey Zappi looking like Tom Brady out there against this Browns defense. Like, come on. You got to be kidding me. Your third string quarterback is doing that to teams. Why would you go back to Mac Jones? I honestly think you got to stick with Bailey. I think you got to do exactly what you did in Brady and Bledsoe, and you got to stick with the hot hand. Right now, Zappy's a hot hand. You tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong that Bill doesn't do this same thing coming into play, because I don't think I am wrong. So yeah, that's disappointing Browns loss, but I figured we all knew the Browns were going to lose. Maybe just not lose like that. So Jets beat the Packers. Honestly, I think we all saw this a mile and a half away after the Packers losing to the Giants in London. Come out and just poop the bed 27-10 versus the Packers. This Jets team's competitive. Salah's got this team going. Both New York teams are really looking good, and I don't know. I'm impressed by these guys. They just keep finding ways to win, try to make the best out of the opportunities, and it's kind of what they're doing right now. So props to the Jets. Jaguars lose to the Colts. The Colts get the win on the second round here, which is all for it. So look, I don't know what to say. The Jaguars, ever since the Eagles beat them in the second through fourth quarter in that windy game, Jaguars just haven't been the same. The Colts, of course, coming alive a little bit on offense. Michael Pittman, like setting some kind of record in between the hashtags. I can't remember what the numbers were exactly, but man, he's got Matt Ryan's starting to figure out his weapons, and I think that's still going to be a big key for him coming into play. We got Vikings beating the Dolphins. The Dolphins losing Skylar Thompson in the second quarter. Teddy Bridgewater coming back, but the defense just couldn't hold anything, and then Waddle giving the ball away pretty much on that should have been game-winning drive. So that's coming to play. Bengals Saints. Bengals with that Jamar Chase clutch 60-yard TD coming to play. Look, this Saints team's bad right now. I'm not happy with them. I figured these guys would be a lot better, and again, similar thing. Ever since the Bucks game where they came back, or the Bucks came back and won, the Saints haven't been the same. Granted, Jameis Winston's been injured, but that doesn't seem to help. Michael Thomas has been injured, so we'll see if they get at least one of those guys back Thursday. But it doesn't sound like it, and it's not a good thing if they got to go play the Cardinals, who are also awful for whatever reason. But they got D-Hop back. We'll talk about that here a little later. Ravens losing the Giants. Crazy. It's just crazy to me that the Giants are 5-1, beating the Giants, beating the Ravens, beating the Packers. I don't know what to say. We already talked about the Bucks, Steelers, disappointment there. The Rams, I guess, kind of figuring life out. They got Skowronek going. Cooper Kupp wasn't the full lifeblood this time, but he still pretty much is. It's still a team that has to figure life out there. Panthers just bad team. Cardinals losing 9-19. Look, if you guys haven't already, tweet to Gino. Whatever you got to do, get to Gino and say, hey, Gino, I'm sorry. You are a starter quarterback. The Jets organization, whoever was associated with that back in Gino world, needs to apologize. This guy has come out. Hey, it might be a system quarterback thing, right? We might be seeing that with Russell Wilson going to a new system. But this Gino guy has been doing work. He's been taking care of the ball for the most part and, giving this team the opportunity. Granted, their run game is awesome. Kenneth Walker, kind of came in, stepped in for Rashad Penny. Now that Rashad Penny is out and looks good. Like, the Seahawks team really isn't that bad, and they have a real chance of winning the NFC West. So I'm not I can't trash the Seahawks. I can trash the Cardinals. Are you kidding me right now? 19-9. You didn't even 3-6 is your points in the first and third. What the world is going on? I need to get Redbird Red Zone on because this is not a good thing. This is not a Cardinals team. Now, I said it once. I said it again. DeAndre Hopkins comes back. When DeAndre Hopkins is on the field with Kyler Murray, it's a different Cardinals team. I said it. I said it here, and I said it. I'll say it every time. Kyler Murray and D-Hop. Kyler Murray relies on D-Hop to be there so he can toss up those chuck balls that he's missing out. AJ Green can't do that. Robbie Anderson, who just got traded, isn't going to do that. Hollywood Brown's now out for 3-4 weeks or so with an ankle injury. Look, D-Hop is his only savior right now, and I think Kyler will probably look better. These scores might look better, but this team is not good. This Arizona Cardinals team is not good right now. They have a chance to turn it around, but it's not pretty, guys. It's not pretty. Cowboys, Eagles. Eagles, of course, pretty much blow out the Cowboys, getting to Cooper Rush's face. Look, I can't be mad here. Eagles just doing Eagles things this year. I love what I'm seeing from them. They're an exciting team to watch. Jalen Hurts. I'm trying to think here. Jalen Hurts looks like the quarterback everybody's expecting. And if you're still a naysayer in Jalen Hurts, you gotta go back and watch the games. You gotta go back and see who's running that team because I am loving the fact that Jalen Hurts is out here looking like an NFL starting quarterback. While we wait for Tua to get back, this is one of two quarterbacks that I think everybody circled, right? Everybody was circling. Is it Jalen Hurts and Tua? These two need to perform. If they don't perform, can them, right? Go draft a quarterback. But right now, even with Tua's injury, I think both of them are performing. Both of them are showing they're NFL capable starters. The defense is nasty for the Eagles. Look, Cowboys will be fine. I ain't worried about it. They'll be all right. Of course, the bye week teams, guys, were the Lions, Titans, Raiders, and Texans. The Texans ended up losing on the bye week, firing their GM or president or whatever you want to call him. Easterby's gone. So we'll see exactly what happens there. Hopefully that doesn't mean Lovie Smith's out at the end of the season because I like Lovie. I'd rather keep Lovie. So I don't think it is, but look, it's a matter of time before that organization started making more moves coming into play. But that's kind of your week 6 recap here. I didn't really grab all the injuries coming into play. Let's see here. Oh, Russell Wilson with the shoulder deal. All right, so 4 weeks for Carson Wentz coming into play. Joshua Kelly hurting himself. Oh, that's for sure. I thought it said touchdown for a minute. I was be like, what? So Keenan Allen sitting out guys for the Chargers as well. That's something to remember too. Coming to play. No Keenan Allen. Sounds like he'll be ready to go next week. Cam Akers is looking to get traded. What else is going on here? Yeah. Who was out? Nobody. No, Albert O was out. I didn't realize he got hurt. So many injuries going on to play. No Boom's gone for the Rams. Tua is expected to return week 7, guys. And boy, should the Dolphins be happy about that. Give him a playmaker to come back. Come into play. Hunter Henry. He went on under. He's not injured. I thought he was injured. I was like, why is he even playing? Yeah, nothing else really to report at the moment. Not much coming into play. It's injury season. And this week here, you got Minnesota, Los Angeles, like 2 or 3 teams with big guys on their team. I think the Bengals go out too. Like it's a big bye week for a lot of people, a lot of teams here coming into play here. Let's see here. Week 7 bye week. So the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota Vikings, and the Philadelphia Eagles are all off on week 7, all off on next week. So that's Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Darrell Singletary, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford, Tyler Higbee. It's going to hurt me. Tyler Higbee there. Cooper Kupp, right? What else we got? Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Irv Smith. And then the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Goddard, and A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith. Hope you drafted well. Hope your waiver wire looks good and start planning that because that's a lot of key guys to be out this week. Good news is DeAndre Swift should be back. That's my good news there. Let's get a baseball update come into play here. Jonathan should be on here soon. We'll talk, see how he's doing. See if he needs to cry it out, hug it out. Postponed, of course, the Cleveland New York Yankees game. I didn't realize it finally got postponed. Man, that weather up there is just not good for good for this series. Second postponement this series, so that should be interesting there. But yeah, you guys let me know how your fantasy teams are going. If you have any fantasy questions as well, be happy to talk through it with you. There's a lot of situations to come into play, even on my team. This week was better for me too. Ended up finishing, should finish. Let's put it this way: should finish 4-1 coming to play this week. So compared to my 0-5 last week, that was not a pretty sight. So, but yeah, no, not too crazy coming into play here. Oh, another Chargers lineman down. They're down to the third string center because Lindsley's out too. That's not a good thing for the Chargers right now. Not good for Justin Herbert either. So what we got here? We got timeout. We got, what is that, 6 minutes left? Where'd my mouse go? There it is. I tell you, I really think it is dying here on me. Yeah, it was 6.5 left here. Coming to play. Uh-oh. My bad, guys. There we go. There we go. So let's see here on this Chargers Broncos here. Chargers are threatening to score. I really need Justin Herbert to throw a touchdown. Keep it close. Keep it in the 4.5, right? That's what I bet on here. I need Denver to cover. I mean, Denver covers and wins. I win double the money. And that would be a nice pretty penny. Plus, it wouldn't hurt our division too much for the Chiefs losing yesterday. So it was like a triple win on that part. But I need Herbert to throw a touchdown because I also have a bet on that. DraftKings did plus 100 on that. So threw a little bit of, $20 on that. Okay. We're starting to move here. Scramble. I need like a fourth screen here so I can put the game up actually on. It's all right. I'm making do here. How about that for the MLB guys? I don't know if you guys realize we have two wild cards, two wild cards playing in the NLCS here. With the possibly Cleveland, if they can win, would be 3 wild cards out of the 4 matchups, or the 4 teams. Seattle and losing to Houston. So, but how insane is that? Philadelphia coming out, just bombing people. And then Padres surprising the Dodgers. Nothing like 110 team falling apart. Kind of reminds you of except for they made it the finals. So that was the Golden State Warriors when they did, 73, 74 wins, whatever it was. And they ended up losing in the finals there. I mean, it kind of reminds me of it, just that Dodgers didn't make it to the finals. But yeah, guys, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow here. I got my power rankings dropping tomorrow on Whiskey Sports Podcast. We'll have that going on Wednesday night. JG and I, no Mike this week. We'll be doing our Sports Buffoon. We're going to talk football here and break open the NBA a little bit here with opening day, essentially coming into play Wednesday. Thursday, I'm going to try to do some fantasy football stuff. I didn't get to it last week. Had a lot of stuff happen. So Thursday, I'm going to try to do some fantasy football stuff here during Thursday night football, second half there before my post-game show. Friday, we'll drop our Week 7 preview for the Kansas City Chiefs on the Selling the Kingdom show. And then, of course, every Saturday morning, you can find us on Let's Talk Sports. We'll be talking AFC West divisional. Dale, David, Ryan, Rob, and myself, and Dan, of course, we'll be talking AFC West teams. So it's always a fun time there. And make sure tonight here you tune into the post game on Let's Talk Sports. You got the Man Cave guys, and then Connor and Bill covering that. They do a great job on the recap, kind of explaining stuff here. Great show on Let's Talk Sports, guys. Immediately following this Monday night game, you can catch pregame shows and postgame shows every football day, NFL football day. So Thursday pregame, I'm on the Thursday postgame with Matt, Carlos, New Yorker, and Smoking Jeremy B. Gets a little heated at times, but it's fun. Two big personalities. Sunday morning, we do our pregame show. We usually bring on a few people, talk fantasy, do a little pick'ems, and give you guys the latest injury news coming to play. And then Sunday midday after the 3 o'clock or noon games, part of the 3:30, Ryan Larson, Dan do that. And then post game, post Sunday night football, Rob and Johnny hop on and do a post, kind of recapping a little bit, basically the whole day. So is that a Herbert touchdown? Oh, complete. Come on, baby. So there's tons of it. I did a Monday night pregame short TikTok today as well. Always enjoy doing that. 4th and 12. Come on. All you gotta do is toss in the end zone. Now I hope you missed the kick. All right, guys. Let's bring in Jonathan. Jonathan, what's up, dude?
How's it going, man?
Watching Justin Herbert basically fail at being a QB in the red zone. So it's always a great thing.
Man, that's crazy how Herbert has regressed. Is that the right way you want to say as far as how this season's gone for him?
It feels like it. It doesn't feel like he's as dominant as he has been. I don't know. It's not pretty.
Well, any Denver Bronco game so far in 2022 has not been pretty. So,
look, the only thing you can say, if you like defense, you love the Broncos. That's all I'm going to say. If you love defense, you love the Broncos.
That's a typical Russell Wilson team, right?
That's very true. Oh man. So how you doing, man? Do we need to hug it out, cry it out, or are we going to be all right?
Man, I'm all right. I'm okay. I mean, it was not the ending I was hoping my Braves to have this year as far as how the season we had, the talent level that we had. I mean, that's the thing about the playoffs for baseball, for Major League Baseball. The best team is not always the team that wins. It's the hottest team. It's the complete opposite of what you see in the NBA. It's the complete opposite of what you see in the NFL. That's what, in my eyes, I love postseason baseball because anything can happen. And it's the most unpredictable postseason in North American sports, and I absolutely love it. It's as much heartbreak I have right now for my Braves. I mean, who would have thought the NLCS would be the Phillies and Padres, two of the teams that probably had the biggest letdowns in the second half as far as expectations. Mm-hmm. And now they're one series away from winning one series away from going to the World Series. That's just that's the epitome of postseason baseball in Major League. So I mean, I love it. I love it and hate it, but I love it just because I'm a fan of the sport, and you couldn't ask for more. What you see in this game.
Yeah, and you and I talked about that. I mean, it was last week or the week before. But we talked about that, just baseball being baseball. You just never know what's going to happen. I mean, look at the Padres, for instance, right? A team I kind of wrote off as soon as they, got the wild card, like, oh, they ain't going to beat the Mets. They end up beating the Mets. Oh, well, now they got the Dodgers, right? The hot-hitting Dodgers, and look at what they did going out and finishing it out at home for the Padres, and ended up upsetting 110 win team.
Yep. I mean, that's like I said, that's baseball. That's absolute baseball where you had, I think I saw 400 win teams and only one's playing in the championship series. I mean, again, tell me a sport in North, that we have NFL. If you have the most dominant team in the NFL, they're going to get upset in the first round. Like that doesn't happen. That does not happen in the NFL. It doesn't, you have, I mean, how many times we see the Lakers back in the day, the most dominant, first place, and they go and get eliminated in the first round. It doesn't happen. So that's what just makes this sport. Like I said, it makes it so much fun. It makes it so exciting to see just because anything can happen. It's so unpredictable.
Right. Yeah. It's just insane of how stuff just goes about it in baseball world. Now we got the Cleveland and Yankees here. They're postponed once again, second time the series. What are you expecting coming out of that series?
Oh man, I don't know actually. It's kind of gone what you thought it was going to be. Like pitching for the Guardians was better than the pitching of the Yankees. The hitting has been mostly favorable of the Yankees, but even the Guardians have had timely hits, and that's what matters most in postseason. It's not, again, as we just said, it's not Yankees are clearly the best hitting team, but do the Guardians have the opportunity to get timely hits when needed? And they have so far, and that's why the series is tied right now. Can they do it? And can they do it one more time in the Bronx? That's going to be the biggest question. And I always see the same thing, that the pitching is lined up better for the Guardians in this game. Their bullpen is more fresh; they're ready to go than what the Yankees have so far. So that does favor the Guardians, but it's a matter of can you hit again? Can you put the hits together that you need to score runs when the game matters? And that. If you can jump on the Yankees early and try to get a few run lead over them, you make them press, and that's when they start struggling a little bit more. But if you give the Yankees the opportunity to really jump on you, that offense is too explosive, and they've shown it at times where they can score runs in a blink of an eye. So it really comes down to can the Guardians score early and allow their pitching staff to take over. If they can do that, they can pull the upset off, but it's just a matter of, containing those bats in the Yankees and not letting them get that pitch that sets the Bronx off and the energy level just goes sky high for them.
Right. I really thought the Cleveland should have won it at home if they were going to win the series. They did not. They did not want to go back to New York, mainly because, like what we saw game one of the short fences, the shorter field. And that's what the Yankees capitalized at beating teams like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, you had that opportunity. If you're the Guardians, you're kind of, I don't want to say you're down because you still have a chance to win the series. but you had what you wanted. You wanted the closeout game in your stadium. You know, that's it's there for the taking, and you lost your chance. So now you have to. Now it's harder. Now it's going to be a lot harder. Again, you know, I hate the Yankees with a passion. I've hated them my entire life, but I can respect as much as as much as I can New Yorkers. I can respect the fandom of that stadium and what they are when it's a postseason play, and how raucous they can get. And that's something that you're in as a player. I don't know. I don't necessarily. I'd love to ask somebody who's played in the Yankee Stadium compared to old Yankee Stadium. You know how different the feeling is, because I know from the times that I've talked to people who played in old Yankee Stadium, that aura of it was just tremendous, and it did intimidate you. I don't know if that's the same thing in the new Yankee Stadium, but the crowd itself does play a factor there. They are wild in New York, and especially in postseason. So it's something that you're going to have to really hold back if you're the Guardians to try to take them out. And you got to get them on them early. If you can get on them early, you have a chance to let your pitching staff take over.
Mm-hmm. So how about kind of what we expected there on the Houston-Seattle side of things. Granted, game one was spectacular with that bomb to walk off for Houston, and I think it just kind of set the tone for him, honestly.
Yeah, I actually watched that. I was talking, and I was like, you got to walk Alvarez. I wouldn't have pitched him. And I know you brought in Robbie Ray to face him. I wouldn't have pitched him. I would have walked the bases loaded, and I would have took my chance with Bregman. And if Bregman beats you, then that was your guy to go get. But I mean, Alvarez has proved this year he's probably top 5 hitter of baseball this year. He's done it all season. I don't give him that opportunity. I would have walked him. And let's just say, hey, Bregman, I know you hit a home run, but let's see if you can do it again. Let's see if you can beat us one more time. And I agree. That first game really set the tone for the series. The Astros are just that good. They are a good team. They're a complete team. And it really showed throughout the series just that they were head and shoulders above the Mariners. And again, the Mariners, I don't take anything away from the Mariners. That team is, they're going to be a good team in 2023. They were a year early. And I've said that to you guys before. They were ahead of schedule by 1 year. But so you get yourself a postseason experience. Now Julio Rodriguez has that feeling for it. J.P. Crawford has that feeling for it. Luis Castillo has that feeling for it. And that actually will carry you very far into the next season. So, I don't take anything away from what the Mariners did, but the Astros were just head and shoulders better. They were more prepared. They've been there, done that. And, it showed in that first game with the Alvarez bomb to clinch it. And it was just a matter of time how that series was going to play out that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. So, are you – I guess if you're Houston, who do you want to play, knowing that what we've seen from both teams on the other side there?
I honestly, if you're the Astros, it doesn't matter who you play. I think both teams you have an advantage over both sides. I mean, again, the pitching staff of the Astros – can be dominant, so you can contain the bats of the Yankees with your pitching staff, and as well as you can score runs. You can match runs if the Yankees are able to hit. You can match them run for run with your offense. So if I'm the Astros, I'm not afraid of the Yankees. I'm not afraid of the Guardians. I think the easier matchup would be the Guardians if you're for the Astros, just because, again, the offensive side, the offensive advantage they have over the Guardians will definitely show. But the pitching staff, they're able to match up with both sides to really, I think, take advantage of it. And so if you're the Astros, you flip a coin. That's how I think about it. You flip a coin.
That's true.
It doesn't matter. I think the Astros are just that much better than both those teams. Offensively, again, like I said, they can match with the Yankees offensively. So, like I said, flip a coin, heads or tails, and whichever side is, that's who you're going to face. And if you're the Astros, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, that's very true on that side. It doesn't really matter, I don't think either. So, all right, let's talk about it. Okay, what happened? What happened with this Phillies Braves? I know momentum, hot bats, but what happened?
You said it. The Phillies were hot. The Phillies were a hot team. And again, as we said at the beginning, the best team doesn't always win in postseason in baseball. And numbers wise, the Braves were the better team. They were the better team in the regular season. They were the better team on paper. Phillies just they caught fire. They caught fire. They actually did. If you watch the games, they did what the Mets did to the Braves earlier this year. How you beat the Braves a lot, in series wise, is you have to annoy them. You have to absolutely annoy them offensively. As far as the Phillies annoying them when they're on offense by fighting pitches off, putting in little dink base hits, finding holes. And that's what the Mets did for the beginning part of the year. They were able to just find holes, and it frustrates you as a defense because there's just nothing you can do, especially with the shift being what it is. If you find a hole in the shift, you're like, well, what else am I supposed to do about that? And that's what the Mets did earlier this year against them. And the Phillies did that a lot during this series, especially in early parts. And the games that they won, particularly if you see, they just had base hits. They didn't outpower them. They didn't outpower the Braves until they got to Philadelphia. In the 2 games in Atlanta, I know they split in Atlanta, but they found holes. They were just annoying the Braves pitching. And that's what you need to do with them against the Braves. And that's what they did throughout the series. They found opportunities to get their pitch and make something happen. Because at some point when you're annoyed as a pitcher, you're going to leave a ball over the plate. You're going to leave a hanging curveball. And that's when the bats of Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, Brandon Marsh, they were able to take advantage
capitalize.
And that's what it was. And it was, again, it's frustrating because there's nothing really more you can do. I mean, the Braves pitchers made good pitches. They battled with them. They kept them in games at times, but the Phillies were able to annoy them, battle with them back and find their pitch and find a hole for them. And then it just became, hitting's contagious in that way. And that's how they were. Again, they didn't outslug them until they got to Philadelphia. And that's how you beat the Braves. If you can take their power away, the Braves' power offensively, you're going to win. I mean, I think if I might be off on the stat, Braves won, I think it was like over 70% of their games when they hit a home run. They didn't really hit home runs. And besides Matt Olson and Travis d'Arnaud, that was the only power hitters they had that actually did something offensively that put balls in the stands. So you neutralized their power. And all you had to do was just find ways to put hits together and score runs that way, and they did. So, I don't make excuses. I tip my hat to the Phillies as much as I hate doing that because it's the Phillies. But they were the hot team, and they showed that they were the hot team, and they played better than the Braves.
Yeah, it really was. And like you said, you pointed out too, the thing when I was watching the Phillies Braves that time throughout the series was the patience, the pitch selection. And I thought that was the biggest key in this, that the Phillies just weren't going out swinging as, some of the Braves pitchers expected. They were like, hey, we're going to expect something here. And that's kind of what Philly's done all season too, is you saw the games when they are effective, when they are able to, get the runs they need, is they calm down and they stay patient. They stay playing their pace kind of game.
Yep.
And I think that's going to help them out against the Padres. Is going to be a similar situation where the Dodgers were out here. They swung at some really bad pitches all the way around. Padres do the same thing on their side of there's not very well, pitch selection for either team of the Dodgers Padres teams. At least that we saw in the series. So I think the Phillies have the upper hand in this if they can continue to be patient and not go after, get it behind in the count as much as when they end up losing a lot. So,
yeah, I agree, and I think this is actually besides the Braves Dodgers NLCS round 3. I'm actually really intrigued by this series of Philly and San Diego. I mean, both lineups are if you look at them on paper, they're very similar in certain aspects of what they are. How they put their lineups together. There's a lot of power on both sides for the Padres and for the Phillies, and from power of guys that you won't expect. I mean, again, Jake Cronenworth was absolutely on fire against the Dodgers. Trent Grisham, who middle tier type ball player, and he has a series of his life, and he's able to I think he tied the home run record for the Padres franchise. in the series. So I mean, guys coming out of the woodwork for the Padres. Same thing with the Phillies. Brandon Marsh, all of a sudden, he's finding his power stroke. Against the Braves. So they're structured very similarly in the lineup. It's very intriguing on how you're going to attack this lineup for both pitching staffs, and both pitching staffs have some good pitchers in there with Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola on one side. You have Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and on the other side is the two number ones and twos. Joe Musgrove on the as well. Ranger Suarez showing up and being a heck of a pitcher for the Phillies in the back end of the season, where he just absolutely was. He dominated the Braves in Game 1. So it's very intriguing. They're very similar, and I think this is. If you're Major League Baseball, you're not thrilled by this series just because, again, you had the Dodgers. You wanted the Dodgers in the NLCS, and I don't know how they felt about the Braves being in the NLCS round 3 of that. But I think if in Major League Baseball, the storyline of that, of Braves and Dodgers round 3 NLCS, I think that would have been very intriguing. But for Major League Baseball in itself, as far as how they look at the revenue side of this, I don't know how thrilled they are of this series, but as a baseball fan, I'm intrigued, and I normally don't watch after the Braves get eliminated, but I might watch this series just to see how this plays out. It's very intriguing.
Yeah, I'll at least tune in, maybe not watch the whole game, but one of those things where you're watching maybe Thursday Night Football and it's on afterwards.
Oh no, I'm petty. When I'm petty. When my Braves are done, I'm done.
You're done.
I'm petty.
I'm so used to being done early that everything else is just it's whatever to me now as a Royals fan.
Right.
It can't be petty because we only make it every 50 years. So. Go to play. I know Nick wanted to talk. He ended up having to sit this one out here. He had a procedure done on Friday, I think. So just getting some rest here. But he didn't want to touch base that you had a pretty bad weekend in the professional world. Not necessarily I saw good things in your games with the girls, but not with your professional teams coming to play with the Saints. Losing that 60-yard heartbreak to Jamar Chase there. Rough one.
I mean, if we're going to lose, might as well let the LSU guys beat us in that aspect of it. So, I mean, what else can Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase do in the Superdome as far as what they've done? And Jamar Chase he's won state championships in the Superdome back in high school in Louisiana. He's won a national title in Superdome. Why not have the game-winning touchdown against the Saints as well? So I mean, that just fitting end of what that game was like for the Saints and what Burrow and Chase did. So I mean, it is frustrating. As a Saints fan, it's frustrating because there's so much talent on that team. And it seems like we're taking steps backwards now. There's some regression. I mean, again, I'll take the injuries. I get the injury. No Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, what matchup that would have been? Marshawn Lattimore versus Jamar Chase. No Michael Thomas. No Jarvis Landry. No Chris Olave. So the offensive side was just absolutely decimated with the skill set of players. So, but it does seem like we take a step forward and then we take 2 steps back. Take a step forward, take 2 steps back, and it's starting to get frustrating. And there's some questions. I feel like there should be some questions that need to be asked at Airline Drive right now as far as what direction do we want to head to, because the direction of where we're in is keeping this Sean Payton culture, and that's what I call it. And it's the Sean Payton culture without Sean Payton on staff. How much longer can we keep this going? Because it's not working without Sean there. And I feel
we talked about that too. Yeah, we talked about that I think last week.
I've been saying it all season right now, and I liked it. I like the idea. I like the concept of what you're trying to do because it's a winning concept. If the guy who built it is still there, and the guy who built it's not there anymore, so we're seeing really that void, and that's a huge void. And at some point, you have to sit there and say, maybe we need a new culture, new offense. I mean, the offense is still built for Drew Brees. They haven't changed the offense for Jameis Winston, and now you have Andy Dalton. and you're still running the same offense as if you have the Hall of Fame quarterback who won you a Super Bowl over, for 17 years that was in there, and you can't run the same thing with a guy who's, a middle tier type quarterback.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, you got to think about it too, right? So not only you just named off all the injuries going to play, now you're potentially going into Thursday night with the Cardinals with Taysom Hill as your starting quarterback. Like, because Andy Dalton's limited. He's already being pretty much ruled out. Jameis Winston's, they're still uncertain of his status. That leaves you Taysom, right?
I mean,
Essentially.
Taysom's won games.
Let Taysom cook, right?
I think they'll have Jameis play. I think Jameis is going to start this game because they had him active as an emergency quarterback. If he's not close to playing, why make him active? So I think he's going to. I think they'll probably start him with Taysom being the number 2, and if something happens to Jameis, then yeah, you go to Taysom. But I mean, at this point of the season, why not? Why not? If Jameis isn't ready, then yeah, hey, start Taysom. Taysom won games in the NFL. Is he someone who's going to be a difference maker as a quarterback? No, I mean, not really, but. I mean, he can make plays, and that's something that we haven't necessarily have done a lot right now on the offensive side.
Yeah, and luckily for you, right, for a Saints fan, this division isn't out of reach either because the Buccaneers are pretty much soiling themselves right now, losing to Pittsburgh, especially last week. So they're not helping themselves out. Panthers are the Panthers. They're horrible. Like, forget them. And then outside of that, the Falcons, granted they did beat the 49ers, they're still a team that's in the mix as well, but nobody's pulling ahead. Nobody's out, 3-4 games going into week 7. Everybody's right there in between, I guess, 3 of you guys out of 4 that have contention. So for you as a Saints fan, I feel like if the Saints can get a healthy Michael Thomas back, Olave back, get Jameis back, like get these guys back as close to 100 as you can, you could literally take the second half of the season with a healthy defense possibly too, with Lattimore coming back, and you could run this division yet because you see Brady struggling, you see that defense struggling. I think the Saints still have a chance for, winning the division essentially.
You have a chance. I think for us, we've lost opportunities to really do that. You take away the Panther game. I mean, the Panther game was just absolutely atrocious. Should not have lost that game. So if you win that, you're 3-3. You came within a field goal away of tying the Vikings in London, which that's something that you probably should have walked away with a win. If you won that one, now you're 4-2. And then you had a walk-off touchdown by the Bengals this past weekend that made you could have won. And your
Bucs game too. Don't forget the Bucs game.
And with the Bucs game, and that was a little bit. I won't count that thing again. I think that game was just what it was. We were not really as prepared as we should have been. But again, you had opportunities to win that one too. So you are right about that. But I chalk that one up for the Bucs just because they outplayed us in the second half and that last and everything. But you had opportunities to really cement yourself as a contender, in the NFC and be almost running away with the division right now. And you're letting opportunities slip away. So, and that's again where the question needs to have is like, what needs to change? Because what we're doing is not working. It's just not working right now. And that's a question you can't at the moment right now. You can't ask in the middle of the season. You're committed. You're committed to what you're doing. You're committed to the plan. You're committed to the program. You're committed to the outlook of what happens, and that's what they're doing right now. So if they can make adjustments and on the fly, maybe the Taysom Hill experiment gets back this week, and you have to make adjustments for him because he isn't a quarterback that can just sit back and throw. I mean,
yeah, he's not.
So you have to find ways. If that's the case, that maybe mixes things up. I'm for it. Maybe something has to change. You mentioned Mike Thomas. I honestly, I'm almost to the point where I'm giving up on Mike Thomas in New Orleans. I hate saying that because again, I am. Yeah, because how many games has he played in the last 2 years? We've seen 4 games.
3.
4 games, 4 games in 2 years. he's already been vocal about being part of the organization, and supposedly there's the rumors about frustration. Still, even because his frustration was with Sean Payton, for a year or so ago, and now there's more frustration, but Sean's not there. So there's got to be an issue with the team itself and with the organization that he just does not want to be there. And I mean, at some point you have to. And it's such a difficult situation for him, for the Saints, because you can't trade him. You paid him; his money is guaranteed money is still there. So your dead cap is $28 million if you try to trade him. So that's going to kill you in a salary cap if you're trying to find a way to reignite your salary cap to be a competitor, a contender. But I'm almost at that point. I think the Olave draft, kind of with the drafting Olave, kickstarts the what if conversation. What if we can trade Michael Thomas? What do we do next? And you got to get draft picks. I think that's the number one thing. I think the salary cap decision making of the Saints, of kicking the can down the road and restructuring contracts, I think that's going to stop to an extent to where they can kind of reset themselves and in a way rebuild, but reset their market to be able to get younger and more talented players for the future, because that's what right now, whether there is no future right now. I don't, no future.
I was going to say younger for sure. Younger was the key, the direction you guys have to go, because you've had a lot of the same players for the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing all the injuries pop up. We're seeing, losing to certain teams you probably shouldn't be, and making other teams look good that shouldn't be. So there's a lot to still go on with the Saints team. They had Drew Brees for so long there, where you didn't have a lot of turnover. You didn't have a lot of change come into play, essentially. So now I think you are at that time where, Michael Thomas can go. Maybe you can get a draft pick out of it for next year. There's a lot of good wideouts coming out of the draft there. Maybe something to do to be able to go younger and lose some of the salary cap.
Well, I think and I've been more proponent of the draft for the Saints than what they have themselves done. I kind of wish we would have invested better, or at least more draft picks, over the last couple of years to prepare for this move. And we haven't done that, and we're paying for it right now. I mean, look at the Eagles and what they've been able to do over the last couple of years with their trades. They've been able to get draft picks and really supplant that roster with such youth around that team, mixed in with the veterans. You still have veteran players on that team, on that defense particularly, but you sprinkle in a lot of young guys on that roster. You bring in guys like Devontae Smith in the draft, and then by the way, hey, we have some extra draft picks. Let's go ahead and trade for A.J. Brown, who's still a young receiver. He's 23, 20. I think it's like 24 years old. Pair him up with a 21-year-old, 22-year-old Devontae Smith, and let's see what we can do with our 23-year-old, 24-year-old quarterback. I mean,
you're not paying the quarterback or Devontae Smith anything really right now.
So I mean, I've been a proponent of the draft, and when you have Drew Brees, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who's going to give you a chance to win a Super Bowl. Sure, kick the can down the road and plug and play players here and there, and go be a contender for a Super Bowl. We don't have that now. There's no future. There's no future at quarterback. I know I've been, and I know Nick will when he sees me. Oh, you're throwing your bandwagon of Jameis away now. Well, I was never a long-term buying into Jameis, though. I was expecting for this season to be a lot better, but Jameis was not part of my long-term over the next 5 years plan.
He wasn't your younger guy, essentially, to come into play.
No, he was. Hey, let Jameis be the quarterback for the next 2 years, but I'm drafting a quarterback in 2023 still. I'm drafting a quarterback in 2024 still. And that was always my thought process to do, was try to find a quarterback that you can develop for the next 2 years with Jameis here. And then by his contract's done in 2 years, you let the young guy go play ball now. But he was never in my future. So you got to find a future. And, is Thomas part of the future? Heck, is Alvin Kamara part of the future? That I don't know. Yeah. I really don't. At some point, you have to reset. I mean, Carolina's in that conversation right now. They're talking about trading Christian McCaffrey and finding ways to reset their team and reset their roster. You got to find ways to be able to reset, and the only way you can really do that, is by the draft. And that's something that I feel like they need to start planning and preparing now to be able to get the clock reset and turn it over to be a contending team, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years. Because right now, as good as the roster is, there's just nothing that's there to say, yeah, we're a Super Bowl contender right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, still a lot in place, but like I said, you're not totally out of the season yet. Like, get guys healthy. Guess what? You could be a contender, but you got to get guys healthy first. And how long does that take, right? You can't wait till week 10, week 11.
Well,
Hopefully they're ready here by week 8.
I mean, with Michael Thomas, it's taken 2 years. So is it another 2 years? I mean, I don't know on that one. But
play him every other game or something. I don't know.
we're treating it like the NBA now. We get a rest day in between weeks or something like that. Oh God!
Just make sure it's a rest, at the away squad, because then everybody gets mad because they're not seeing Michael Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Oh man! Hey, I saw your post here this weekend too. How about those Tigers?
How about them?
Big win.
Hey, going into the swamp and Brian Kelly getting a shown. I never understood the national hate of Brian Kelly. But I get why, but I never understood why. And I mean, he's showing that he can coach. He can coach in the SEC. But I mean, my goodness, he did something that no LSU coach has ever done: win a game in Jordan-Hare and win a game in the swamp in the same season. Like, no LSU coach has ever done that. And he's taking this team that had 30 scholarship players in the bowl game in January.
Yeah.
And rebuilding it to be, I won't say a contender in the SEC now, even though they're essentially a game out of the first place in the West. Really, they're actually tied. They're a game up because Ole Miss is undefeated in the SEC West right now, but they play Ole Miss this week. So they play Ole Miss this week, though. So if you beat Ole Miss, I mean, how much more does he need to get the respect he deserves in the SEC now?
I think a lot of LSU guys right now, LSU fans that are criticizing him, national college football fans are criticizing because, like, we saw him in Notre Dame, right? He was in the last couple. I mean, they went to the playoffs with him in there. Like, there's no reason why you can't come to LSU and turn this program around. Like, bring it back up. Like, it's not turn around. I don't want to say it that way.
Well, it's a turnaround. It is a turnaround. It's a turnaround because, again, you only had 30 scholarship players, for a bowl game. And you still have no depth on your roster. There's still a lot of holes in that roster. They're trying to figure out how to be able to get through the season. And with the top 5 recruiting class currently right now that's coming in, that's hopefully coming in 2023. I mean, it's just churning right now for them. The talk with the national media. There's a lot of guys that I've talked to about why the hatred of Brian Kelly. It's the sheer fact that he did leave Notre Dame. You're not supposed to leave Notre Dame. You're not supposed to leave Notre Dame, especially then. You're not supposed to leave Notre Dame to go to LSU, and that was
exactly. Go to the Bayou.
You're not supposed to do that. If you leave Notre Dame, you're supposed to go to first off, what program is more prestigious than Notre Dame? Even though Notre Dame hasn't won anything, hasn't won a national title since what, the 80s?
Yeah,
it's been that long since Notre Dame has really won a championship, and yet they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
That's such no lie.
They're the most prestigious. The golden helmets. You don't leave the golden helmets to go to a school that's down in the swamps of the Bayou of Baton Rouge, and that was a national media hate. Like, how do you do that? How do you leave Notre Dame? I mean,
and all the money they throw at those coaches too. Going to play. Like, how do you leave? But it's a better situation, I think, for Brian Kelly.
It's a much better situation because, again, he brought in top recruiting classes, top 5 recruiting classes. At times, top 10 recruiting classes to Notre Dame with the recruiting restrictions they have down. For students as far as like the academic side, there's no academic restrictions at LSU.
No.
Can you say your ABCs? Welcome to LSU. I mean, can you do that? Can you drive to campus? Welcome to LSU. Can you play football? Are you one of the best players in the state? Welcome to LSU. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, so you've given him no restrictions to recruit. He's going to have to. He's going to challenge Nick Saban and Kirby Smart for top 3, top 4 recruiting classes in the SEC. Absolutely, he will be. And that's what he's doing right now. They're getting recruiting wins in Texas and Florida and California, around the country, bringing in top talent players right now. And I mean, goodness gracious, he's only in year 1.
Yeah, he's only in year 1, and he's already leading this team already to a bowl game, at least, possibly a shot at the SEC title. You know, depends if they can beat Ole Miss or not, but it's still, I don't know. He's always gotten a lot of hate. I just don't know. I just don't think LSU is that bad of a team, you know. Like they really aren't. But young and promise. Next year, we always see it. We see it year in, year out. Next year, that could be different.
The question is going to be is can something that Orgeron didn't do? Can he keep the team intact? Which is what every school now has to ask their question at the end of the season. Can we keep our team intact because of the transfer portal, because of the opt out? These players can opt out at any point in the season and go prepare for the NFL draft now. You know, they have that option to really do. Can you keep this team intact, and not lose another 10 players to the portal and then have to use your recruiting class to fill those 10 spots plus another, the other 20 spots that you need to fill? Mm-hmm. That's going to be the question. If he can keep this team intact with the coaching staff that they're able to do and they have in the recruiting they can bring. I mean, yeah, you're going to talk about you talk about LSU being national contenders in the next 2-3 years, which, I mean, that's the history. Nick Saban won a national title in I think it was his 3rd year in Baton Rouge, 2003. So he was a 4th year because he's 2000 was his 1st year, so his 4th year was 2003. Les Miles won a national title in I think it was his 4th year or his 3rd year. Orgeron won one, and I think it was his 3rd or 4th year as well. So the pattern in Baton Rouge is by your 3rd or 4th year, you're going to win a national title as a coach.
Who would have thought? I mean, that'd be great for Brian Kelly, just for that fact that getting a title after going through all he's been through at LSU would be awesome too. Hopefully my Jayhawks get a shot before we can see LSU, but we'll see on that one. So
that's a little surprising. It was, did they win this past weekend? Or they?
No, they lost to. They competed very well, but they lost to Oklahoma in Norman. We haven't won in Norman for quite a while. I can't remember the last time we won there. So it's been a while there. But we also had our backup quarterback come into play.
Yeah,
I
saw that.
It's tough because for a Jayhawk fan like Bean, he's a good quarterback, but he's not what I would consider a college style quarterback.
Right.
So he's one of those guys that better at dropping back to throw the ball versus Daniels, who's hurt for probably at least another 3 weeks. He's one of those guys that can drop back, but he also can escape and run, which is what you know this. That's what you want in college. Very rare can you get a quarterback that can drop back. Joe Burrow was kind of an exception to the rule back in LSU, but he also had outstanding weapons in an outstanding line to be able to allow him to do that.
Well, and sneaky athleticism, Burrow. He's a hell of an athlete too. He can still. He showed it last night with his scramble. He scrambled. I don't know if there was like a 22-yard scramble for a touchdown. I mean, he's a pocket passer, but he's sneaky athletic.
When he wants to move is when he does that, but he doesn't always tend to like to run out of the pocket too much. Or we see it in the sacks numbers, of course, coming to play.
they got to figure that one out because again, you're turning Burrow into a punching bag by these
Andrew Luck.
I mean,
this guy's gonna retire after 3 years.
Oh God,
call it good.
The entire state of Louisiana will absolutely fly to Cincinnati and tear up the Bengals for destroying Burrow right now. That's I feel like that's what I mean. There had in that game in the Superdome they said there was more. There was almost as many Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase jerseys, LSU jerseys, than there were Saints jerseys.
I believe that. I believe that fully.
You talking about it was really a torn stadium. Like you cheering for the Saints, and then you're like, hey, Burrow and Chase get a touchdown, and you're like, yeah, that was against us. Crap. Yeah.
Who do we root for?
The emotions were just torn for the Saints fans who were also LSU fans for Burrow and Chase. It was so. I had the friends that posted on Facebook and everything. They were like, yeah, I'm happy for Chase and Burrow, but damn it, we lost.
Oh man, yeah, it's a tough one for your home state there to have to deal with, but yeah, it's all right. Looks like the Chargers kicked a field goal. I believe that seals the deal. Yep, 16-19 Chargers over the Broncos after 900 minutes in overtime. It felt like. Luckily, with one long pass there, so Chargers escape the dreaded Broncos, but again, doesn't seem like it's a good-looking game there to watch at all.
Like I said, a typical Russell Wilson game.
Yeah. It literally, it's like a repeat of Thursday Night Football last week. Wait till the overtime. There you go.
Yep.
All right, Jonathan, I'm going to let you go, man. I appreciate you coming on, talking baseball with me, of course, and Saints and LSU and all that jazz. Hopefully next week we can get Nick back on.
Always, man. I always appreciate you guys and appreciate you letting me come on, man, with y'all.
Yeah, dude. Hey, keep winning there. Keep winning out there in those fields there. I love seeing those pictures.
Oh yeah, we getting it. We getting on it. We got a big one this weekend. We're playing in our the biggest tournament in Texas this weekend. My 14U group is. We're traveling down to Houston this weekend, so definitely challenging them with a big step up in competition. And then we have my 12U team is in action this weekend as well, and so they're going to get a nice challenge and competition going. So hey, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a fun one.
I like it. And you had 3 girls hit a bomb this weekend?
We had 2. We had 2 in at the college showcase that we played in this weekend. We had 2 girls that went deep for us. So it was definitely a good offensive showing for those 2 particularly. But as a team, we're hitting our stride offensively, and it's starting to show a little bit more each week we get on the field.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see some more positives coming into play.
Always.
So, appreciate it, Jonathan. We'll talk next week, man.
Sounds good, Tanner. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Buffoon and Bodkins show here today. That is Chargers 19, Broncos 16. The Broncos covered, baby. I got part of that bet. That's what I'm talking about. So got me a little money there. So, but guys, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow Let's Talk Sports. It's amazing. Go tune over to the other show. I know I'm on the wrong channel. My bad. But the post-game show with Bill, Connor, and the Man Cave guys are there. Hop in, comment with them. Let them know how you feel. Obviously, if you're a Chargers fan, you're probably not very happy having to deal with that overtime win because it should have been worse, right? You should have crushed the Broncos. So anyways, guys, like, subscribe, follow. Check me out on Whiskey Sports Podcast here. Tomorrow I'll drop my power rankings tomorrow night. Buffoon, Sports Buffoons with JG on Wednesday night. And then we'll try to do something fantasy on Thursday night, second half of the game. So check it out, guys. Whiskey Sports Podcast. So anyways, get this here rolling. Everybody have a fabulous week. And we'll talk to you next Monday. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Buffoons and Bodkins show. Make sure you hit that bell, subscribe, and follow for more content. Swing over to the Bodkins show, subscribe and follow for him. And then also swing over to Let's Talk Sports Network and go subscribe to him because it's phenomenal for what he does. And there's a lot more to come on that channel between us as well. So make sure you guys do that. Thank you for watching.